I've been building in Voice AI for 2 years now, and in those 2 years, I've tested absolutely every single Voice AI platform that has ever come out. If there was a new platform and I had heard about it, I would go out my way in my spare time to test it and to see if it is better, than the current platforms I was using at the time. And now, after those, 2 years, this is really the 13 platforms that are the most prominent and the most like name for themselves in the space. And in fact, there's not many other platforms that are really important. So these are really the main 13. And so that's why in this video, I'm going to rank and compare and talk about all of these platforms as I've tested all of these, some less thoroughly than others. But I still have a good sense of all of these platforms. And at the end, I'm also going to kind of recommend which platform I would recommend for each person. So by these people, I kind of mean one is like the non-technical person that wants to sell voice AI to maybe local businesses. The other is maybe the YC founder that is very technical and wants to understand everything in terms of infrastructure, enterprise, scalability, uptime, things like that. And then finally, the third is kind of the middle, the voice AI developer that wants to find a platform where they can learn a lot about voice AI, but isn't too difficult. So let's start off with Sinflow. Sinflow, I'm going to put it in D instantly. The main reason why I'm going to put it in D is it is expensive. I think it's around 13 cents per minute off the top of my head, which is just expensive for what you get. You get very low customization. You can't really do much with the voice models. You can't really do much with the LLMs. Your only options with LLMs, I believe, is GPT 4.1, Mini, and their own LLM. It's all just a bit confusing. The UI is rubbish. The project seems dead to me. Like whenever I go on Sinflow, like I just give it a test because I care about this place and I want to look at what's going on. Whenever I check it, nothing has changed. Everything looks the same. There's no updates, and so that's why I'm going to put it in D. They have recently raised $20 million, so maybe things will change with that kind of money. We will see in the future, but for now, I would have to put it in D. I don't see any way that I could recommend this platform over any others. Okay, next we have Bland. So Bland, I would have to put this in a solid B tier. Now, the reason why I would give this a B is because now why I would put it in B is a few things. So first of all, you've only got the option for conversational pathways. That is their only kind of use case for the voice AI. Like that's the only way that you can actually build a voice agent, which isn't too big of a deal because I think conversational pathways is a pretty good way to get a voice agent up and running pretty quickly, pretty reliable, pretty accurate, fast, and for non-technical people. So it's a decision that they made for a reason, and I can see where they're coming from. I just do think it's a bit of a loss to not be able to do like single prompts and kind of your own backend and play around with the thing a bit more. But that's not the kind of offering they're going for, and so that makes sense there. They're relatively cheap actually. I believe Bland is 9 cents per minute. Again, off the top of my dome, this is testing my knowledge in the voice AI space. But so decently cheap, like 9 cents per minute is pretty good for a hosted solution with their own models. The voices also are very good. Like they have a ton of options, 1,000 different models, I believe, 1,000 different voices that you can choose from. They also have their own Bland text to speech model, which I've tested and is pretty good. I haven't done it that thorough, but I have tested it a little bit, and it did seem from my kind of first initial reaction pretty decent. And overall, I would say the platform, the founder is pretty good. Like they've started moving about. It was kind of a dead project similar to Sinflow maybe 3 months ago, but now things are moving, and I'm liking the direction that Bland is going in, and I hope it keeps progressing in that correct direction. Cool. So that's why I would give it a B. Next, we have Retail. Now, Retail is our first A. I think Retail is a very, very good platform. I really like the team. When it first started out, you were kind of like, Vappy is just better. But Retail has really gotten better. It's very clean UI, very clean experience. They make things really simple for the user to just go in there. If you're a low level developer in the sense that you don't have tons of experience, Retail is a really good place to just get some understanding of voice AI, you still have a decent amount of customization. Not everything, like you can't change the speech to text model. You can't do certain things. However, because of those lack of decisions, it actually makes setting things up on retail easier. They handle a lot of stuff themselves natively. The team is doing well. They push updates quite a lot. And in fact, I would say their conversational pathways, or their conversational flow, I believe is what they call it, is the nicest experience, the nicest conversational flow or workflow or whatever you want to call it. Every platform has a different name for it. Um, it probably has the nicest experience to me. It is the most natural to me. And so they probably have done that the best, in my opinion. Their settings, their UI, like I said, is all very nice. The latency is pretty good as well because they run their speech to text model on premise, and therefore, I believe, and therefore the latency of the text to speech to text model, sorry, is like 50 milliseconds, which is really good. That saves 200 compared to a platform like Vappy, or if you're just using any sort of Cartesia, DeepGram or anything, and you're not doing it on prem, then you're looking at like 250 millisecond latency. So they save a bit of latency there. They have a decent selection of models, like not crazy, but not bad either, kind of just enough when you're starting out, which is kind of what I'm hinting at with this platform. And they also have a decent price, I believe. I mean, obviously it depends on the model you're choosing, but I would say they don't add on as much as a platform like Vappy does with the pricing. It's more closer to like pure cost, which is a good thing. Okay, next we have 11 Labs Conversational AI. I'm going to have to put this in B. Now, this is a very, very, very similar offering, I would say, in the horizontal space as 11 Labs. It is very easy. I would say it is actually less and easier, like in the sense that there's less customization, there's less for you to do in 11 Labs than there is for retail, but it is even more simple, like in the sense that you literally just put in, like, you don't even select the speech to text or the text to speech. You just choose which voice you want, because obviously you're using an 11 Labs model. And then the LLM, you select your LLM, type in your prompt, give it a tool or two, add it to a phone number, and now you're running. And that's all you can do really, as well as, sorry, add some RAG. But other than that, you're kind of limited with 11 Labs. Now, I would say 11 Labs is probably your nicest platform to go for if you want a widget. I think 11 Labs have got really, really nice widgets, nice UI, nice everything. So latency is good because they're doing it via the web. And so if you want a widget with just like on your website with knowledge base retrieval, things like that, it's probably a pretty good place to go for, and you could get it up and running very, very quickly. Pricing is a little high in my opinion. You're looking at like 12 cents per minute when you're using their speech to text model and text to speech. So it just feels a little high. And then you obviously pay for your LLM costs. And yeah, so that's why I just think it's a little on the high end for what you get. But I do think the conversational AI platform has gotten better over the past, 3 months when it first released. I can't remember exactly when it was. I gave it a look. I wasn't too impressed, but now it's actually gotten better, and I would recommend it more often than I would have 3 months ago. So that is always a good sign when things are progressing. I'm going to rank it up higher because it means that they can get better compared to something like Sinflow, which has just been stuck in the mud for a while now. Okay, so next is Vappy. Now, Vappy is our first S tier. I truly believe Vappy is one of the best platforms in the market right now for someone like myself. Now, that doesn't mean that retail isn't a better option for some people. That's why I'm going to talk about the recommendations later on. But for me, and for a platform as a whole, Vappy is amazing. The UI is good, the documentation is good, the API is good, the latency is good, the pricing is okay. I like the pricing model in the sense that they add a cost and then you pay exact LLM costs. They charge you the exact costs. They don't add onto the LLM or speech to text or text to speech model costs, which I really like. They just add a per minute cost for everything that is around. I would also like them to have a thing which is like you don't pay for the silence. So when it is silent, you don't pay. And I would like them to reduce the price a bit. 5 cents per minute is ridiculous now when you could run everything for like 3 cents per minute, pure AI costs. So 70% of your costs is Vappy. which I don't like. But those other things do make this probably the best platform. Their support is amazing. Their community is amazing. There's so many videos online because it was the first good platform in my opinion. And so it is why I would give it S tier. Their team is really good. They do things like they do these challenges. They do events. Overall, I just think they're really good at what they're doing. Shout out to the founders. It's very impressive, and yeah, I see longevity with Vappy. I think they're going to be around for a while because they have been, and they have kept up their kind of lead in my opinion. So that's why I would give it an S tier, and this is my actual platform of choice. I use Vappy with a custom LLM backend for 99% of my builds, and I recommend it to any consulting work that I do for a lot of use cases. Again, I'm going to talk more about recommendations later on in this video, and it is important because I just think it's useful because at the end of the day, you want to make a decision rather than you care about where I rank the platforms. So next we have LifeKit. I'm also going to give this an S tier. Maybe I would give it an A. I think it's in between A and S. I wouldn't say it's as good as Vappy in my personal opinion. This is again for me and my opinions, but I would say it's better than retail. It's very customizable. Obviously, you've got all the customization in the world. It does require code, which can be a turnoff for some people. Like they don't want to code, they don't want to learn it, and so that is going to be a no from them. Very enterprise, which I love, right? Like OpenAI, XAI, all types of big enterprise companies are using it to handle thousands, if not millions of calls. Yeah, millions of calls a month, let's say, or hundreds of thousands of calls a month, which means that they have really good uptime, they have really good reliability, they have really good latency all around the world. And all of those reasons is why LifeKit is amazing. Like I said earlier, they have all the customization in the world. You can use any of their services and you can plug in anything yourself as long as it kind of fits the format that they expect. What else? It's just an overall good platform. They have decent community support. They have an AI bot that is pretty good documentation, pretty good Python SDK, which is pretty simple to understand. Deploying is decently easy. And yeah, I think it is up there in the S or A tier, and you could use local models if you really wanted to with LifeKit using Olama or anything that kind of matches what they expect, which in the future for enterprise stuff, for bigger stuff, you would be wanting to do that anyway. Next we have Pipecat, another S tier. For LifeKit, pricing is like 0.005 cents per minute to 0.01 cent per minute for hosting costs. It obviously depends what plan you're on, which is 5 to 10 times cheaper than Vappy, which is obviously a huge difference, right? Like you're paying 4 cents per minute maybe on average on a call here compared to 9 cents per minute average on Vappy, which obviously that makes a big difference over large volume of calls. Pipecat, I'm going to say the price straight away just because we were talking about it. You're at 0.01 cents, per minute. So the same price as LifeKit on some plans, slightly more expensive than LifeKit on other plans, and you're paying $30 a month. I think it's like $29.56. Again, testing my knowledge, but I believe it's somewhere like that, like $30 or $36. Yeah, $36 a month, I believe. To just have things running. So that's kind of like your plan. But basically you just pay $36 a month so that there are constant active agents so that you have no cold starts, which is very good. I think that's a very fair price. Yeah, more than fair. Pipecat is very good. Support is very good. They're using daily.co for their kind of infrastructure, which is actually the exact same infrastructure that Vappy uses for their connection of everything, I believe. And obviously this is by daily.co, so I'm assuming there's some priority given to Pipecat in the cloud. Maybe not priority, but obviously they care about Pipecat a bit more than Vappy because obviously they directly benefit from it more. Support is good, like I said. Community is good. The solution, like the actual Python framework, is pretty simple to do. Deploying is pretty simple to do. Scaling is pretty simple to do. And I really like the yeah, I just think it's a very good overall platform. So it's kind of like competing with LifeKit. I wouldn't say it's competing with Vappy as much because Vappy is less code based and more UI based, I would say. But yeah, overall a very, very good platform, and I would highly recommend it to people looking for more enterprise solutions. Again, I will speak about that more later. Okay, so Vojent, terrible platform. I don't really know where to put this, to be honest. I'm gonna put this in D. I'm not sure. I had all these rankings listed down, but like now I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. But I'm gonna give this a D. The reason why I have to give this a D is it is just terrible. It's just a bad platform, and I'm really sorry to say like harsh things like that. And I hope the founders don't hate me. I think the team behind Vojent are cracked. Like things move in Vojent. Like I can see updates. They're doing things, so that's already better than Sinflow in my opinion. But there's such a lack of direction in Vojent. It is insane. It is a voice AI agent platform that also has a text to speech playground, that also has a podcast generator. There's just so much lack of direction, and they just don't know where to go, which kind of makes sense. Like they can't compete with any of these platforms, right? Like they just lose. Um, and so they don't know where to go, and they have money to spend, obviously, because they're YC backed. And yeah, it just feels like a platform that has no direction. Team is good, but no direction. For voice AI, like if I'm gonna just go talk about voice AI agents, the text to speech, they have a decent offering. Like they offer Dia, which is an open source model. They offer Sesame, which is open source, but both those the implementation of Sesame is terrible. Like it just is bad. It just doesn't respond correctly. Like the text to speech model is just bad, so they shouldn't even offer that in the first place. Um, the LLM, the it's just such a weird platform. I don't even know how to explain it. I just don't like it, and I just don't think I would recommend it for anything. To be honest with you, so I'm gonna have to put it in detail. I hope the team can kind of find an avenue that they want to go down. I think the reason why all of these platforms have product market fit is because they're all a little bit different. So Vappy, you have your kind of in between where they're developers, but they don't want to do a ton of code, but they're not dumb. Like, okay, dumb is a harsh word, but like, they want as much configuration as possible. LifeKit, they want like pure developers with, infrastructure, enterprise, uptime, scaling. Pipecat in the same kind of vibe. With daily retail, less like more like Vappy, but like slightly more in that direction where it's like less developer based people, very clean UI, very easy to understand, very easy to get something up and running quickly. So that's why they're product market fit, which is a very good offering. B, bland AI, more enterprise in the sense that they help, I believe, enterprises integrate things. Conversational pathways only, so it's kind of similar to retail where you can get something up and running quickly, decent price, an easy pricing model, good voices, overall good documentation, things like that. Very fairly simple. 11 labs. You've got speech to text and text to speech on prem. Increase better latency. Overall, very simple offering as well. So kind of similar to these two vibes, and that's why they all have their own product market fit. Which just Vojent doesn't, because it's not better than Vappy, it's not better than LifeKit, it's not simpler, sorry, than retail or bland or 11 labs, and so it just sucks. Sorry about that, but that is the honest God's truth. Okay, next we have a platform that probably most of you haven't even heard of. You probably are looking at this logo like, what the hell is this? It is a platform called Cinderai or Cinderai AI. I'm not exactly sure. Let's see. What is the... Yeah, Cinderai.tech. So they are also a voice AI platform. I'm giving it an A tier. I can't give it an S tier for a few reasons. I think it's probably one of the best backend platforms. Like their turn taking is amazing. They handle it all themselves. Their speech to text is fast, which they run on prem as well. They also run like Llama 3.370 billion on prem, which means the latency is very good. They like have really fast endpointing, meaning that they send out requests to the LLM very often, just to make sure that when the person has stopped speaking, they can really reduce latency, which does increase the overall per minute cost a little bit. Like you're looking at like 12 cents per minute, or 11 cents per minute using Llama 3.370 billion, when on a platform like Vappy or actually a platform like Pipecat with Llama 3.370 billion, you're looking at like 4 cents per minute. You're also looking at actually Vappy is a better comparison because they charge 0.05 cents per minute for the speech to text model, the turn taking, and the hosting, which is pretty good, better than Vappy price wise. But because they send requests to that LLM more, it is a little bit more expensive. Okay. Yeah, so like I said, they have probably the best backend. Like the actual pure voice AI tech is amazing, but they have an issue, which is that they have not the best documentation. They don't really ship much. Um, they're not VC backed, like they have no money. I'm not saying they have no money. That's wrong. They do have money, but they don't have as much, run like just free flow cash to spend and deploy on engineers. And I think they have a pretty lean team with just a bunch of cracked engineers. And because of that, they don't really fix, I would say, low hanging fruit, which is just like things that could just make the platform overall better. They do big changes, big updates, big infrastructure changes. They do a lot of pilot projects where they actually work with the people themselves, and so all of that makes me have to give it A tier. They like, for example, Kimi K2 released recently, a very good open source model, and I would love to see this on Cinderin in a day, right? Just integrate it with Grok or integrate it with any low latency provider, and they haven't done that, which is a little bit upsetting for me. Not many things change and update, and so I'm gonna have to give an A. They have recently released a nodes beta feature, so I'm actually just gonna quickly show you guys. So give it a second to load, and I'll say something about Cinderin whilst it loads. They're probably the best team, and they have the best understanding of LLMs in voice AI. Like they understood the concept of context engineering before everyone else. They have the best infrastructure around how to leverage the most out of the LLMs. Better than Vappy, better than LifeKit, better than Pipecat. Those platforms are like, you do it yourself, you figure out yourself, we'll do everything around it. Cinderin has taken a bit of approach where it's like, we're going to do all the infrastructure and we're going to make it as simple as we can to, and like at the same time as simple, also configurable for everyone, and we're going to choose what are the best practices. So you can have, for example, scenarios, which I spoke about. This is like the exact same thing as the 50 millisecond RAG. You put in your context, you put in what the persona says something, you put in what the user might respond with, and then how the persona should respond by the persona that is the AI. The UI is a bit confusing, as you can see here quickly. Like, you don't have like these tabs. LLM selection is a bit confusing as well. So UI isn't the best. They understand that. But yeah, what I was talking about is this nodes beta feature that they released recently, and in my guess is that this is probably the best implementation, UI based implementation of LLMs possible. Like I said, they really have a great team at dealing with things, and so like as you can see, there's states, which is already amazing, right? Like having a state-based voice AI LLMs is the approach I do, but I just do it in code, and they have it in UI. But there's no documentation about this, and so I haven't been able to figure it out. I've asked the founder like 10 times now if he can show me how to do it, and once he does, I'm going to make a video about this because it's probably going to be the best implementation of LLMs in voice AI, and then many people can take a look at it and give it a try. But yeah, I'm still gonna have to give it an A. I would actually be as harsh as to say it's probably, actually no, A is a fair one. I was thinking A B, but no, A is fair because it is better than 11 Labs and Bland for sure. Okay, next we have Trillit. Now I'm gonna give Trillit AI a C. I like Trillit actually. I think they have trajectory to go up to maybe even an A in the future. Maybe it's actually leaning towards a B as well. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to give it a B. I think it's comparable to 11 Labs. So Trillit has product market fit in the sense that they run mostly outbound stuff. So they have a like intelligent AI callback or like intelligent AI. Yes, I think it's something like that, like AI callback, where essentially like, if you send an outbound call to the person, they don't respond, the AI intelligently understands that and calls them back in a certain time frame, which it's not actually that intelligent, like, but it's useful that they have this in the platform like native, which most things wouldn't. They also do quite a lot of like telephony optimization in order to improve like kind of the like landing in spam versus like hitting the kind of like in cold email you do that. So they have a lot of optimization for outbound stuff, and that's kind of their main product market fit. Like I said, they're mostly an outbound like voice AI place. They make things pretty easy as well. I like that the fact that you can upload call recordings and get, you know, a decent prompt from that, and get started from call recordings and call scripts. So I like that approach. Decently simple pricing. I believe it's 9 cents per minute as well. And that's with like, most LLMs, like you can choose Gemini, OpenAI, Claude, things like that. I'm not sure if you can choose Claude. Anyway, you have a good few bit of customization as well with the text to speech. But for these types of platforms, that is less of what you're looking for. You just want something that's quick, easy, and for the use case that you want. So if you're doing outbound calls, it is a pretty decent approach to go platform to go for. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a B. I think I did have it previously in a C, but on second thought, I think it's probably closer to a B. Okay, so next we have DeepGram Agent, uh, like C or D. It's probably not. Yeah, it's not as bad as Vojent or Sinflow, but it's just not bad. Like it's not good at all. Like there's no reason why you would ever choose DeepGram Agent API over just using DeepGram speech to text and text to speech in Vappy or LifeKit or Pipecat. Like there's no reason why you would ever do that. So I just have to put it in C for that reason. The pricing is pretty simple. The latency is pretty good because obviously they're running the stuff on premises like their speech to text and the text to speech. But yeah, I just don't see why you would ever use it. It's just like decently difficult to integrate with telephony. Um, the documentation is there. It feels more of like a demo of what you can do with DeepGram because they offer the speech to text and the text to speech. But there's no real benefit of using DeepGram Agent over integrating it via Vappy, except for the fact that you have slightly lower latency because it is on-prem. That is like the only reason why it is better. So the offering is just not that good, and I don't think that DeepGram Agent will ever hit a kind of product market fit because I just don't see who in the market would ever choose this over anything else. Okay, next we have Ultravox. Ultravox, I'm going to put this a C. The reason why I'm putting it in a C is I think this is harsh, but I'm going to explain why. I think the team is really, really good. Like they have a lot of incredible people, smart people, um, and I think this has potential to be above all of these platforms. Like genuinely, it does. It could be above, and I think actually with the release of these new open source models, like the new Quen model, the Quen 2507 Instruct, I believe is the name. Let me just see. This one, yeah, there we go. Quen 235, 2507 Instruct. I think if they get this to become an SLM, so I can't remember what it stands for, but like a speech language model where basically the speech is just go straight to the language model. If they somehow integrate that with the open source models or Kimi K2, it could be really, really good. The only thing I don't like about Ultravox is that you have less control over what the LLM does, and you can only do things with the LLM model as a prompt, and you can only give it tools. So you can't do a ton of work around the LLM and the orchestration of the LLM, which I think is actually crucial, and I do think is the future. Like people think speech to speech is the future, and I don't agree. I just don't see that happening because I think having granular control over the LLM itself is really, really important. It also allows you to save costs, things like that. But if I am wrong, which is definitely possible, because no one is ever right, this is going to become better than everyone else because they would have had a head start to these kind of SLM models and like these speech-based models. And so I think they would beat everyone because it has really good latency. The like tonality, like the LLM understands what I say very well because it's not being just run through a transcription model. It's like it actually understands the audio. And so all of those reasons is very good. I think it's like 5 cents per minute as well, which is really, really good. Overall, this is a very good platform. Maybe even B is probably closer. I just don't see it ever working in production because you don't have that granular control with the LLM, which I think you need with production enterprise actually important things like if you're talking about healthcare, like how are you going to implement an SLM when you have no control? It's kind of a black box. So that's why I have to give it a C or a B. Yeah. I think I rambled on this one a little bit, but I can't quite sorry explain why I put it in here. I think it's yeah. I think the main thing is just simply a lack of control. It feels a bit of a black box, and the RAG implementation isn't the way I like doing it, which I like doing it like Cinderin with scenarios. Okay, last platform is Layer Code. This is probably a platform that nobody has heard of, or very few people have heard of. This is a platform that is not yet even out. It is in beta. Let's give it a quick little look, give you guys a sneak peek. I think I need to do app.layercode. Okay, I'll give you a sneak peek in a second once I figure it out. But let me first talk about it. So, um, Layer Code, it is a platform like kind of like Vappy. It's a mixture between Vappy and Pipecat and LifeKit. That's the best way I could explain it. Where they want you essentially to have your own backend. So the LLM side of things is all on you, which is actually exactly what I do with Vappy already, right? Like I run my own LLM in Vappy, like my own custom LLM, and Vappy sends me requests, which is actually my favorite implementation of Vappy because I get the UI, I get all of their benefits, and then really all of the work that I want to do is in the backend, like the LLM backend, sorry, is where I want to do all the work, and that's where all the work is happening in Voice AI, right? Other than obviously the actual infrastructure stuff, which I would rather leave to a dedicated team like Vappy, Pipecat, or LiveKit. And so Layer Code kind of understood this, which is amazing, and that's their approach. They handle the speech to text and the text to speech, the turn taking, the connecting with Twilio, the connecting with telephony, connecting to the web, the whole pipeline thing. They do this, and then they want you to run your own backend, which is amazing. I think that is the approach I would go for. The reason why I put it in B right now is just because it's not even out yet. It's in beta. And so obviously there's many things that it lacks in the moment, but it has potential to definitely be an S tier. I've spoken to the founder. He seems really, really on board with feedback. And so I really think this platform has a lot of potential. And yeah, I'm excited to see where this platform goes. And yeah, we'll see if it gets better, slowly ranks up. I think at like launch it will already be an A tier, and then 6 months down the line it will probably go to S tier if everything goes well. That is it. That is the ranking. Let's quickly talk about what platform I would recommend for who, a little bit, and then that is it for the video. So Vappy I would recommend for anyone that doesn't want to do deploying on the cloud with like more code stuff, but also still wants all the benefits of customizability, all of that. Like because obviously Pipecat and LiveKit are good, right? Like you have all the customization in the world. You can do all of that kind of things. Good uptime, good enterprise, all of that, and pretty cheap. So these two platforms are really good, but Vappy is better for the developers that just want to. They don't mind the price because they're not doing crazy scale. Um, uh, they're not building like a SaaS. I would say in the like you would want to build a SaaS on Pipecat or LiveKit. Realistically, you can still run it on Vappy if you're okay with the 5 cents per minute. In fact, it is more than fine for you to run a SaaS on Vappy. If you're okay with the 5 cents per minute. But if you want cheaper, you definitely want to be looking at these. And if you're doing high volume because you're a SaaS and you're doing this for tens of different hundreds of clients, you're definitely looking at one of these solutions. So SaaS, you're looking at these two. Vappy, you're looking at the kind of high skilled developers that want a lot of customization, good logs, good uptime, good enterprise kind of ability, and then because they can use the custom LLM, I would say it makes it a really, really good offering. Um, for the kind of people that aren't as technical, they don't care to code, they don't want to code, they want something even more simple than Vappy, like less choices on them, but that works out the box quickly, easily, less of a faff. I would choose 11 Labs. 11 Labs just works. It just works out the box. You don't have to figure out how to get it to work. The LLM choices are good enough. The text to speech models choices are good enough. The amount of customization you can do is good enough, and you can get it up and running production ready, in my opinion, ish production mostly agent very quickly. So that is the best option for kind of less technical people that just want to sell to maybe a local business and they can't sell it for tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands enterprise solutions. Cinderin, it is the best platform for people who. It's kind of it's. I would say it's the best. I don't know. I wouldn't. Nah, I wouldn't recommend it over Vappy, for example. So I'm gonna say nothing about that for now. 11 Labs, I would say, is the best platform for uh, getting a widget up and running. That's it. Trill is probably one of the best platforms for outbound. Probably not the best because you could run outbound on Vappy, LifeKit, Pipecat, but it is, it's good in the way that they're kind of dedicated to outbound at the moment, which I like that for them. Ultravox will be the best platform if SLM is the best, and Layer Code will be a very, very good platform if they can beat Vappy in their kind of implementation. Okay, cool. I hope this video was useful. I hope my thoughts were kind of congruent enough. I'm not as much of a linear thinker as some, and so sometimes when I make these free-flowing videos, they can seem a little bit sporadic, and I hope, I hope basically it was valuable, and I hope, me talking and my experiences about the platforms, what I've learned with the platforms, etc., was useful, and hopefully you can decide what platform you want from this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.